Good morning. I am Colonel Wesley Fong, United States Army, retired. And on behalf of the See Dai Doo Society, I'd like to welcome and thank you for joining us this morning in celebration of a Veterans Day Appreciation Ceremony. You know, all of us are Americans. We are Americans regardless of what village, what city, or what province we find our roots in China. And as Americans, we can enjoy the liberty and the freedoms which we often take for granted. It is these freedoms that we in uniform oftentimes have to defend and protect, and sometimes pay the ultimate price. Today we again pay tribute to our See Dai Doo Society veterans who have served or are still serving and who help us protect our liberty and these freedoms. At this time, I'd like to call upon Yeoman Second Class Robert Ching, United States Navy, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by Dr. Juanita Liu, who will be singing our Star Spangled Banner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets raking, the bombs bursting in it, did prove through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much, Yeoman Second Class Robert Ching and Dr. Juanita Liu. 6 years ago, our society decided to recognize and honor all of our veterans. And I believe we're the only Chinese society here in Hawaii that does so. Duty, honor, and country. Not just empty words, but words that have values that we the veterans, live by and serve, and if need be, make that ultimate sacrifice. But what is a veteran? You know, there's a dictionary definition of a veteran, but to many of us who are veterans, the definition of a veteran is an individual, whether active duty, retired, reserve, or National Guard, he or she at one point of his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and including his or her life. Being a veteran is something that had to be earned, and it's something that can never be taken away. Now, it may not have any monetary value, but it is priceless. And when you do see a veteran, please tell him or her, thank you for your service. Today is a special day. Not only are we going to recognize the 2020 Veterans Honor Roll, but we will also be recognizing and honoring our See Dai Doo members who are World War II veterans who will be receiving the Congressional Gold Medal next year at a national and local ceremony. At this time, I'd like to call Major General Stephen Tom, United States Army retired, to do a roll call of our new 2020 veterans. He will be followed by See Dai Doo President Dr. Lucy Wong and Chief Foreign Officer David Wong, United States Army retired, who will unveil our Roll of Honor plaque. The plaque recognizes all of our See Dai Doo veterans from World War I to the present, regardless of branch, service, or rank. And it hangs proudly and prominently in the foyer of our Great Hall here in See Dai Doo. Now, in addition, each recipient will receive his or her own coffee mug, and the coffee mug says, "Thank you for your service." Now, each mug is numbered, 1 through whatever. Now, some of you may be asking, who has mug number 1? Mug number 1 is actually given to Dr. Sun Yat-sen or General Sun Yat-sen, who is from actually See Dai Doo District, Nam Long. Now, in addition to each mug that a person will receive, he or she will be receiving a lapel pin, an American flag lapel pin that he or she can proudly wear. So this time, General Tom?
Thank you, Colonel Fong, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As Colonel Fong told you, we began holding these annual See Dai Doo Veterans Recognition ceremonies starting in 2013. And in each of these prior ceremonies, we are proud to present a newly identified group of See Dai Doo members who served in the U.S. military. This year, we have 12 new See Dai Doo members to recognize and honor. This year's class of 2020 is Henry Wah Hong Ao, Private First Class, United States Army, World War II, assigned Cup number 77. Thomas Yat Sung Ao, Technical Sergeant, U.S. Army, World War II, Cup number 078. Alvin Cam Fat Ching, Private First Class, United States Army, World War II. Cup number 079. Richard Wat Nick Ching, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, World War II. Cup number 80. Wah Cam Ching, Technical Sergeant, U.S. Army, World War II. Cup 81. Rebecca M.L. Ho, Specialist 4, U.S. Army, Cup 82. Albert Yang-In Lum, First Lieutenant, United States Army, World War II. Assigned Cup 83. Hin Ying Tong, Technical Sergeant, U.S. Army, World War II, Cup 084. Cordell Ching, Electronics Petty Officer 2, U.S. Navy, Vietnam War, Cup 85. Jody Yim, Captain, United States Navy, Operation Enduring Freedom, Cup 86. Charles Hook Ong Young, Technical Sergeant 5, United States Army, World War II. Lawrence Kung Chung Ching, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, World War II. He is assigned Cup 88, and Charles Hook on Young Pryor has been assigned Cup 87. So that's the 12 new members of the See Dai Doo Veterans group. And so that we can always remember all our See Dai Doo veterans, we have created a special plaque called the Veterans Roll of Honor, which lists all the 88 See Dai Doo veterans, including the ones that we inducted today. So at this time, we want to say thank you to all veterans of See Dai Doo, and that past President Dr. Lucy Wong and Master Warrant Officer David Wong to present the Roll of Honor with the new Veterans Anthem.
For the veterans from See Dai Doo. Let me now call back up General Tom to give the history and significance of the second part of our ceremony this morning, and that's to honor and recognize the veterans from World War II here in See Dai Doo, who will be receiving their Gold Congressional Medal of Honor from the United States next year, both in a national and local ceremony. You will be followed by Colonel Baldwin Au, U.S. Army retired, and President Wong. Now each honoree and his representative will be receiving a special See Dai Doo certificate of recognition from our President. General Tom?
Thank you, Colonel Fong, again. See Dai Doo is blessed to have 29 World War II veterans that will be registered for the Congressional Gold Medal. So what is the Congressional Gold Medal, and why is that a big deal? Well, the Congressional Gold Medal is one of the two highest awards that the U.S. Congress can award. The other one is more commonly known as the Congressional Medal of Honor. The Congressional Gold Medal, and I'm going to call it the CGM, is awarded to persons who have performed an achievement that has a significant impact upon American history. The CGM is our government's highest expression of appreciation for distinguished achievement. Chinese American veterans of World War II have certainly earned their Congressional Gold Medal. Chinese Americans have served in the United States military in every war since the Civil War. They have distinguished themselves especially in World War II, serving in every branch of the military service and every theater war worldwide for World War II, earning multiple citations for their heroism and distinguished service, including the Congressional Medal of Honor. As many as 20,000 Chinese American veterans served in World War II and are widely acknowledged for their roles, such as their role in China with the 14th Air Force, known as the Flying Tigers. In the Pacific Theater, Chinese Americans were in the ground, air, and sea, performing combat and support roles throughout the Pacific, including New Guinea, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, Philippines, Mariana Islands, and the Aleutian Islands. Chinese Americans also served in combat and support roles in the European and African theaters, serving in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and the Normandy D-Day invasion, which liberated Western Europe. Many Chinese American women veterans served in the Women's Army Corps and the Army Air Force's serving as nurses, pilots, weather forecasters, and air traffic controllers. The United States remains indebted to the bravery, valor, and dedication of the Chinese American veterans of World War II. They have demonstrated the highest level of patriotism in the face of harsh racial discrimination in America at that time by the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. So what about the Congressional Gold Medal itself, the medal itself? You see a picture of it on the screen now. It's manufactured and distributed by the United States Mint, same people that produce all the coins in your pocket. The CGM is for the Chinese American veterans of World War II, was designed by a special committee that I was honored to be a part of. Working with the artists of the United States Mint, the final design displayed on the front side Chinese American veterans of World War II in uniform, in the Army, the Army Air Forces, the United States Marine Corps, the U.S. Navy, the Coast Guard, and Merchant Marines. To complement the front side design, the reverse side depicts how these patriotic men and women served on land, sea, and air during World War II, showing elements of the machinery that they worked with and fought with, including a Sherman tank, the battleship USS Missouri, and a P-40 Warhawk fighter aircraft flown by the Flying Tigers in China. See Dai Doo Society is extremely fortunate to have 29 See Dai Doo members registered for this CGM. Each of them or their family members representing the veterans will receive a bronze duplicate of the Congressional Gold Medal gold version, which itself will be displayed at the Smithsonian Institute in the future. We will now recognize and honor these special 29 See Dai Doo members.
Thank you, General Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, as the nation recognizes the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II, we are also in the process of honoring the Chinese Americans for their role in the war. Our society is especially proud of 29 members of the See Dai Doo who are presently registered to receive the Congressional Gold Medal for their service in World War II at an event to be held soon. It is with our humble appreciation that we present each one of them a certificate of recognition from our society for their service to the country. This certificate was designed by member Valerie Au, who created a framed document that displays in color both sides of the Congressional Gold Medal along with the See Dai Doo logo. It reads, "The See Dai Doo Society honors member, their name, for his distinguished service in the armed forces of the United States during World War II, and his award of the Congressional Gold Medal to the Chinese American veterans of World War II. It is signed and sealed by Major General Stephen Tom, Chairman of the Veterans Appreciation Committee, and Dr. Lucy Wong, President of See Dai Doo Society. I will be assisted by President Wong in reading the name, rank, and branch of service for each of the 29 members being honored today. I would like to ask the Zoom audience to turn their computers to speaker view so that they can view the reading of the names. Dr. Wong?
Albert
Gum Tin Ao, Technical Sergeant, U.S. Army, U.S. Navy.
Edward Gum Hong Ao, Technical Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Edwin Yu Hing Ao, Private First Class, U.S. Army Air Force.
Henry Wahong Ao, Private First Class, U.S. Army.
Richard Yet Tong Char, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Albert M. Fat Ching, Private First Class, U.S. Army.
Calvin Yen Loy Ching, Private First Class, U.S. Army.
Lawrence Poon Cheung Ching, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Richard Y. Nit Ching, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Wah Cam Ching, Technical Sergeant 5, U.S. Army.
Walter Wang Yu Ching, Technical Second Class, U.S. Navy.
Dr. Herbert Yao Hoi Chin, Captain, U.S. Army.
Jensen Sao Lun Yi, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Dr. Edmund Tai Ken Ing, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army.
Peter Su Ki Ing, Corporal, U.S. Army Air Force.
Kenneth Kim Cam, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Wally Y. Hong Young, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Harold Hung Pui Luk, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Albert Jan Ing Lum, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army.
William Hong Kwang Lum, Technician, 3rd Grade, U.S. Army.
James South Young Pam, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
King Yi Tom, Technical Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Clifford Yao Bao Ao Wong, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Cyril Bongyan Wong, Technical Sergeant 4, U.S. Army.
Edward Sun Dart Wong, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
Robert Sun An Wong, Corporal, U.S. Navy and U.S. Army.
Thomas Tai Pong Yim, Technical Sergeant 5, U.S. Army.
Charles Hook Ong Young, Technical Sergeant 5, U.S. Army.
Melvin Wang Hong Yuen, Sergeant, U.S. Army.
A big thank you to these 29 members who brought honor to the See Dai Doo in the U.S. Army, the Army Air Force, and the Navy during World War II. Thank you.
It's a gold medal, Congressional Gold Medal album, which memorialize all of our See Dai Doo members who will be receiving the Congressional Gold Medal. Dr. Liu?
Good morning or afternoon, whatever the case may be. Thank you for joining us. I would first like to commend Major General Stephen Tom and his fellow generals along with the Chinese American Citizens Alliance, for their years of hard work in lobbying Congress to get this legislation passed and finally signed into law by the President of the United States. It's now 75 years after World War II, so most of the honorees are not here today to receive their medals or awards. After registering for my uncle and my father-in-law, I thought that honoring all the See Dai Doo awardees with an album of their photos and their stories would be a good way to give them literally face for this historic achievement. Here are some takeaways from this remarkable group of 29. They were awarded the World War II Victory Medal and the Asiatic Pacific Service Medal. Their military experiences and training led to many careers in government service, industry, business, and medicine. 10 of them used the GI Bill to earn college degrees, including 8 on the mainland. Many provided leadership in the Chinese community, including 2 being honored as Chinese Model Fathers of the Year and 4 serving as former See Dai Doo Society presidents. And finally, they had amazing longevity. Only 3 passed away under the age of 62. 9 died in their 80s. 9 passed in their 90s. 1 lived over 100, and 7 are still with us today.
And now, may I present our 7 living legends. Jensen He is the youngster of the group at age 93. He married Mary Joan and raised 3 sons, Michael, Stephen, and Kevin, and a daughter, Taryn Liu. He was drafted while in college and trained at the Army Clerk and Steno School and was assigned to Schofield Barracks, responsible for the medical and psychiatric testing of demobilized soldiers. After the war, Jensen earned a BA in political science from Washington State University. While doing graduate work at the UH in public administration, he was recruited as a budget analyst for what is now the State Department of Budget and Finance, and eventually became its director. He was also active with the Munlan School Board, having served as treasurer and director emeritus. Harold Look is also 93. During World War II, Harold was stationed in Saipan, where he was a personnel officer for the artillery division. He earned a BA in agriculture at the UH and worked briefly for a pineapple company, but then started his own business raising pigs on Lanai for 7 years. There he married a teacher, Janet, and raised 4 sons, Leland, Leighton, Lance, and Leslie, and a daughter, Laura Ann Schlesinger. Harold then used the GI Bill to earn his teaching certificate and taught for 2 years before becoming a principal for 23 years at Alva Scott Elementary School, for which he received state and national honors as outstanding principal. He was also honored by the Freedom Foundation of Hawaii for positive programs for the children that rewarded good thinking and encouraged them to solve their own problems. After retirement, he served on the board of the Hawaii USA Credit Union for 35 years. Edwin Au, who is age 94. Edwin married Grace and raised 3 sons, Wendell, Daniel, and James, and a daughter, Alicia. He was drafted into the Army Air Force based at Hickam and was sent to the Philippines, where he repaired airplanes. He continued working at the sheet metal shop at Hickam until he retired. Edwin then worked for the city and county as a school bus driver, groundskeeper, and foreman at the police department in Wahiawa. He is an avid gardener, and as a See Dai Doo director, he donated vegetables for many meetings cooked up by his cousin Lum Nip Leong and taught narcissus carving in the spring. I remember how happy my mom and Auntie Jane were to learn how to grow their own narcissus plants. William Lum, who is age 94. Bill enlisted in the Army after high school and completed basic training in Honolulu. He served for 2 years in Beijing, China, and then at Fort Wright in New York. After discharge, he attended Bradley University in Illinois, where he earned a BA in Business Management and a Master's in Economics. Bill married Betsy and raised 3 sons, Wilbert, Darrell, and Randall, and a daughter, Carol Lum Lau. He said that the highlights of his career in mortgage banking were working at the FHA, Bank of Hawaii, and the HUD. He has also been a leader in both the See Dai Doo Society and the Lam Sai Ho Tong, serving as president. Cyril Wong, who is 94. During the war, Cyril was drafted and stationed in Kotura, Japan, working in the records department as a clerk taking care of service records. He married Laura and raised a son, Jonathan, and a daughter, Rebecca Wong Uchio. He later married Iris Inoki. From the age of 15, he was a carpenter for 10 years and then worked for the city and county as a construction inspector for 31 years. Clifford Wong, who is also 94. He was drafted during his senior year at Marino High School and was shipped off to Joplin, Missouri, where he trained in teletype at Signal Corps. He was stationed in Seoul, Korea. After discharge, he attended McKinley High School in its first graduating class for military veterans. He said that the vets were allowed to bring back overseas wives, so his mother took him to China to find his bride Cynthia and raise 4 sons, Arnold, Burton, Creighton, and Danford. Clifford's career was with the Water Department Hydraulic Design and Planning Division, for which he won an engineering design competition and designed the multicolor water Christmas tree in front of the building. When he was offered early retirement at the city, he said he took it because you don't know when the light bulb goes out. Then he did a variety of different things in sales, ran a business for 15 years, and most notably worked for 10 years on the cruise lines from the ages of 70 to 80. He was one of 8 Kung Fu disciples of Sifu Lam Dayang in Siu Lam Pai, the Shaolin style, was a director of a ukulele group, and president of the Chinatown Lions International Club. Walter Ching is the elder of the group at 98 years old. Walter was born in Honolulu as the 5th child of 16 children. He married Dorothy and they raised 2 sons, Jeffrey and Stephen, and 2 daughters, Ku'ule Benton and Laurie Choi. He joined the Navy Seabees as a machinist. After the war, Walter opened a service station and repair shop in Honolulu. He then went to work at Pearl Harbor as a welder and then at Subbase as a diesel mechanic. He retired with 33 years of federal service and became active with the Disabled Americans Veterans. He and Dorothy traveled the world and celebrated their 77th wedding anniversary in July. And now we honor the 23 veterans who are no longer with us. Edward Au passed in 2014 at the age of 90. During the war, he also served as a civilian at Pearl Harbor maintaining battle-damaged warships. He married Audrey and raised 3 sons, Alvin, Baldwin, Derwin, and 3 daughters, Carolyn Sir, Evelyn He, and Faylin Solidum. He founded Au's Plumbing and Metalwork, among the top 250 largest companies in Hawaii since the 1980s with over 600 employees. He served as president of the United Chinese Society, president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, several directorships, and was the 1994 Chinese Model Father. Albert Au, who is Edward's older brother, passed in 1949 at the age of 27. Albert married Margaret and had a daughter, Eileen Au Merchandani. Eileen said that her father died young, but is not forgotten by herself and cousin Baldwin, who became her father's filial son by caring for his grave and teaching her about the Chinese culture. Henry Au, passed in 2018 at the age of 91. After the war, he became a businessman and entrepreneur. He married Myra, and they raised a daughter, Sandra Au Fong. After the death of Myra, Henry sold his business and became a salesman for Schumann Carriage for 30 years. He later married Eleanor Chung, traveled the world, and became an avid poker player and puzzle master. Richard Char, passed in 2013 at the age of 86. He served with the U.S. occupational force in post-war China and witnessed the civil war between the nationalist and communist Chinese armies. After he returned to Hawaii, he married Betty, a former See Dai Doo Society director, and they raised a son, Alvin, and two daughters, Carlene Toshi and Diane Oda. Richard enjoyed a long career with Kodak Hawaii as their senior engineer and production supervisor. Alvin Ching, passed in 1986 at the age of 61. My Uncle Alvin married Ethel and raised two sons, Doctors Barron and Kevin Ching. He served as an aircraft mechanic at Hickam Air Force Base. One of his duties was patrolling all around the island during the blackouts. Calvin Ching, passed in 2017 at the age of 93. Calvin worked in the Army as a machinist and later founded his own business, Acme Sheet Metal. He married Annie and raised a son, Clyde, and two daughters, Carolyn Chan and Claudette Nishigaya. Calvin was past president and longtime treasurer of the Ching Clan Society. We also remember him fondly in the See Dai Doo as a person who taught ballroom dancing and ran the bingo and tin gao games. Lawrence Ching, passed in 1986 at the age of 57. His military service was in the Radio Corps. Lawrence continued working in civil service and the Army Reserves at Barbers Point in ground electronics, that's radar, communications, and navigation, for almost 30 years. He married Betty and raised four sons, Gregory, Kevin, Timothy, and Bradley, and a daughter, Carrie Ann Teruya. Richard Ching passed just 2 months ago at the age of 101. After his first wife, Rose, passed, he later married Shirley, and they raised three sons, Rodney, Randy, and Brian, Tom, and a daughter, Gwendolyn Wong. During the war, Richard was the chief clerk at the headquarters company and then became a benefits payment supervisor at the State Department of Social Services for 30 years. His passion for gardening came from growing up in his father's taro farm in Waihee, Maui. He was also very active in the First Chinese Church of Christ. Wah Kam Ching passed in 2015 at the age of 94. During the war, he was a jungle training instructor and administrator. After the war, Wah Kam worked for the federal government for 33 years as a heavy truck operator, as well as 7 more years with the state government. He married Rose and raised a son, Kamson, and 3 daughters, Darylyn Rollins, Alva Prim, and Jana Dowsett. Dr. Herbert Chin passed in 2017 at the age of 97. After serving as an Army doctor during the war in Honolulu and the South Pacific, he completed his training in New York. He married Una Chu and raised 3 sons, Doctors Herbert and Stephen Chin, and the Honorable Eric Chin, and 3 daughters, Dr. Patricia Chin, Barbara Lau, and Wendy Vance. At St. Francis Hospital, Herbert pioneered the kidney dialysis and transplant programs. He also was vice chair and consultant for urology at Tripler. He expanded the 911 system to the entire state and was a driving force in starting the UH Medical School. Herbert served as president of both See Dai Doo Society and the Lin Yi Chung Association and was honored as HMA Physician of the Year, Father of the Year in Medicine, and 1988 Model Chinese Father. Richard Chun passed in 2018 at the age of 91. Richard often talked about the day Pearl Harbor was bombed, as that morning newspaper production was delayed, which caused him to miss delivering the papers at Wheeler Field during the attack. During his senior year at Lelehua High, he worked as a sheet metal apprentice repairing war-damaged ships. During his Army service, he was sent to the Gilbert Islands, American Samoa, Fiji, New Caledonia, and New Zealand. He returned to work as a civilian at Hickam Air Force Base and Schofield Barracks. He used the GI Bill to attend National Trade School in Kansas City, Missouri, where he received his diploma in plumbing. He then worked at Pearl Harbor Shop 17 and was promoted to General Foreman, having received many awards for outstanding performance. He also taught math at night school for several years at what is now Honolulu Community College. Richard married Helen and raised 3 children, daughters Valerie and Candace, and son Robin in Pearl City. Dr. Edmund Ng passed in 1994 at the age of 92. Born in 1902 in Honolulu, he left Hawaii to study medicine at Beijing, China in the late 1920s, but transferred to Shanghai, where he earned his medical degree from St. John's University, staffed by University of Pennsylvania faculty. Edmund was called into active duty at the age of 39 when Pearl Harbor was bombed. He served as a neurologist at Tripler Hospital and spent 6 months after the war with the U.S. occupation forces in Japan as a hospital commander. He later attended the University of Pennsylvania Medical School and married Audrey Helen Dunces and raised a son, Dr. Malcolm Ng. In his 52-year-long career, he was dedicated to providing health care for the poor, starting with the free well baby clinic at Palama Settlement. Edmund was also president of the See Dai Doo Society and the first Asian deacon for Central Union Church. Peter In passed in 2011 at the age of 99. He served as a mechanic in the newly formed Army Air Force in the Pacific Theater. He married Mary, and they raised 3 sons, Dr. Kenneth In, Stephen and Clifford, and 2 daughters, Dorothea and Marjorie In Francis. He continued working at Pearl Harbor as an electrician until his retirement. His lifelong goal was to become a junsi, a Confucian gentleman, so he learned Mandarin, Tai Chi, nuclear physics, calculus, traveled, and enjoyed Radio Beijing Chinese opera. Kenneth Tam passed in 2003 at the age of 88. After the war, he worked as a federal government employee for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. He married and raised a son, Winston, and 2 daughters, Winona Wong and Jolene Gu, as well as 2 stepchildren. Wally Leong passed in 2009 at the age of 86. He was a proprietor of Pu'uhale's store and later was a butcher at Safeway and Foodland. Wally was born in Jungsan, China, married Betty, and they raised 3 sons, Leonard, Lowry, and Leighton, and a daughter, Lisa Ann. Albert Lum passed in 2008 at the age of 86. My Uncle Al was commissioned as a lieutenant. He earned his bachelor's from the UH and under the GI Bill, a master's in soil engineering from Harvard and civil engineering from MIT. Albert married Florence and moved to Long Beach, California, where he worked during the height of the Cold War as an aerospace engineer. They raised 4 sons, Albert, Dr. Mark Lum, Arthur, and John, and 2 daughters, Janice and Nancy. James Tam passed in 2005 at the age of 86. He was a federal government structural engineer. He married Xiu Wen and they raised a daughter, Anna Tam Chung. He graduated from the UH with a degree in civil engineering, was drafted, and sent to Australia for the New Guinea and Southern Philippine invasions. After the war, James earned a master's in structural engineering from Harvard under the GI Bill and worked for many years on the East Coast before returning to Hawaii. Hing Yi Tam passed in 2012 at the age of 89. My father-in-law, H.Y., attended apprentice school at Pearl Harbor as a machinist after high school. He married Marion and raised two sons, my husband, Dr. Douglas Tom, and Willard. After the war, he continued to work at the shipyard for a total of 31 years as a machinist, during which time he completed 2 training courses in Alabama and Illinois and became a manager after receiving many awards. H.Y. later sold real estate and married Annette Lee, whose first husband, George Lee, was the architect for the See Dai Doo building. Edward Wong passed in 2011 at the age of 88. After the war, he became a state bank examiner. He married Patsy and raised 2 sons, Dexter and Gregory, and 2 daughters, Karen Shack and Beverly Lum. Robert Wong passed in 2018 at the age of 91. Robert married Miji and raised a son, Rodney, and 2 daughters, Michelle Hataishi and Malia Rausch. He enlisted at the age of 18 in the Naval Reserve as an apprentice seaman while attending St. Louis College. He also served the Army as a lab technician processing military photos and maps. Robert earned a BBA from Marquette University and started his own company called King Management Corporation, which did independent contract work with the military. Thomas Yim passed in 2018 at the age of 93. He married Patricia and raised a son, Roger, and 2 daughters, Linda Fong and Laurie Austin. He attended St. Louis High School, the UH, and Marquette University. He retired as a business management officer after 26 years at the State Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Tommy was president of the See Dai Doo Society, the Jungsan Association, and the United Chinese Society. Charles Young passed in 2006 at the age of 84. He married Elizabeth Betty and raised 2 sons, Jenner and Carl, and 3 daughters, Linda Starr, Libby Liu, and Pamela Kurose. He served as Chief of Plans and Operations at Hickam Air Force Base, Fort Shafter, and Tripler. He also served as Chairman of the State Disaster Preparedness Committee. Charles was active with the Hawaii Opera Society Board, Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and was a Chinatown tour guide. Melvin Yuen passed in 2004 at the age of 81. His niece, Linda Lau, writes, "On Sunday, December 7, 1941, Uncle Melvin was at work at Hickam Air Force Base as a radio technician and witnessed the attack on Pearl Harbor. He continued to work at Hickam after his discharge. Melvin was a life master in the American Contract Bridge Lead." And I don't know what the occasion of this photo was, but all I know is that only the emperor could wear yellow. And like many of the others featured today, he was also an active member of the See Dai Doo Society, and with many serving as directors or trustees. Charles Yu Kwong Chun passed in 2012 at the age of 91. Charles Chun was inducted into the Army Infantry at Schofield Barracks on November 16, 1945, at the age of 25. He had been a pipe fitter at the Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard. Charlie gave free haircuts to his fellow GIs. As a corporal, he became a clerk typist and was assigned to Guadalcanal, one of the Solomon Islands. After the war, he resumed his job as a pipe fitter at Shop 56 and retired 36 years later as the general foreman. In 1949, Charlie married Dora Mao. They had a daughter named Charla and granddaughter Charissa and great-grandson Aidan Charles, named after him. After Dora passed away, Charlie later married Aiko Park. Nicholas Yu Fo Chun passed in 2011 at the age of 87. Nicholas Chun served as a sergeant in the Army Air Force in Germany, assisting in the reconstruction of Germany. Returning to Hawaii, he rose to the position of Federal Supervisory Computer Operator at the Naval Communications Station in Wahiawa, Oahu. After 28 years with the federal government, he then worked at the Airports Division of the state of Hawaii until he retired. Nicholas married Alice Ching and raised sons Randall and David and daughter Claire, and had 6 grandchildren. He served as a director of the See Dai Doo Society. Peter Se Jiao Chun passed away in 2011 at the age of 88. Peter Chun served in the Army during World War II, assigned to Company B, 30th, as an engineer in the Topographical Battalion. He graduated from Farrington High School, playing on the Hawaii All-Star basketball team, which played exhibition games with the Harlem Globetrotters. After serving in the Army, Peter went on to become a successful life insurance executive, member of the $1 Million Round Table, and head of Canada Life's Hawaii office for 35 years. He was also active in community service and served as president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, United Chinese Society, See Dai Doo Society, Hawaii Chinese Civic Association, and the Chun Society. Peter and his wife Daisy had 4 daughters, Sandy Chun, Debbie Holler, Coralie Matayoshi, and Corinne Kosaki, as well as 11 grandchildren. Judge Arthur Sung Kong Fong passed in 2020 at the age of 95. After graduating from St. Louis High School in 1942, Arthur Fong served in the U.S. Army. He earned business and law degrees from the University of Michigan, including a BBA, MBA, and JD. It was there when he met his future wife, Victoria Chun, a fellow student from Honolulu. He was honored as a St. Louis High School Gallery of Distinguished Awardee recipient, having served as a judge of the Circuit Court of the First Circuit. Prior to this appointment by Governor John Burns, he served as a Honolulu Deputy Prosecutor and Hawaii Deputy Attorney General. He also was an attorney with Fong and Fong. His many community activities included directorships at Hawaii National Bank, the Hawaii State Bar Association, and Honolulu Chinese JCs, and serving as a vice president of the St. Louis Educational Foundation and as president of the WWII Country Club. He and Victoria had 4 daughters, Wendy So, Valerie Chang, Carolyn Chang, Mary Nakamoto, and 3 sons, Peter, Andrew, and Daniel, 15 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. In conclusion, these are our heroes from what is called the greatest generation, but I don't think they thought of themselves in that way. When I tried to find out what they did during the war, most of their children said that their fathers never talked much about it. But when I learned about what they did with their lives, it made this project a labor of love. These are men who raised their families. Altogether, they had more than 100 children, built up their communities, and loved and served their country. So this presentation is dedicated to all their sacrifices and to their wives and families. And as Dr. In put it, very aptly put it, we are very proud of our father, Peter In, and his legacy and example to live by. So today I only had a very short time to tell you their stories, but the full accounts will be included in the album, which will be kept at the See Dai Doo Society. We also welcome any newly registered awardees. Thank you for all who contributed, and to Baldwin Owl, Steve Tom, Vincent Ng, and my husband, Doug Tom. and to the Congressional Gold Medal World War II veterans. We honor you, we miss you, and we will remember you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Liu, and thank you for not missing anybody, because this is the first and last time we're going to recognize these heroes from World War II who are See Dai Doo members who will be receiving the Congressional Gold Medal. You know, events such as this just don't happen. It takes a lot of planning, coordination, and teamwork. And at this time, I'd like to recognize the members of this Veterans Committee. We're able to recognize and honor our See Dai Doo veterans. First, Major General Stephen Tom, our chair, Colonel Bong Wenao, Colonel Wesley Fong, Captain King Ming Cheng, Chief Warrant Officer David Wong, Yeoman Second Class Robert Ching, Lawrence Howe, and President Dr. Lucy Wong. Also, a special thank you to Dr. Juanita Liu for her special presentation, Lieutenant Colonel Arnold Lee, United States Army retired, for his technical assistance for the webcast, and Valerie Yao for designing the See Dai Doo Congressional Gold Medal Certificate. Now, as a final note, for those of you who wanted to pick up the recognition for you or your family, please come by the See Dai Doo office today, and we will be here until 2:30. And you can come by in the parking lot, and we will get you your recognition, the memento, and the pin that you folks are so well deserving. Now, if you cannot make today to pick it up, then please call the office at 533-4756. That's 533-4756. And call between 8 and 12 o'clock noon, and someone will bring down that memento or that recognition for you. Now, in closing, again, I want to thank all of you. Thank all of you for joining us in this very special occasion. And to all of our veterans and their families, again, congratulations. And on behalf of See Dai Doo and a very grateful nation, we thank you for your service, and we salute you. As a Vietnamese refugee who is now a proud American citizen, said, America, one flag, one language, and one nation under God. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you, and good afternoon.